Hey everybody, welcome back to Constructive Conversations. I'm Zach Daniel with Victorian Finance.
And I'm Luke Barksdale with Viz 3D Space.
So today we're talking directly to sellers. The market has shifted from the frenzy of 2020 to 2022, and the strategies that worked then don't necessarily work today. Homes are still selling, but the difference between homes that sell quickly and homes that sit on the market are usually coming down to the preparation, pricing, and incentives.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Buyers, they have more options today. Interest rates are higher than they've been, in a long time, really. Historically lower, but in the past few years, they're higher. And that seems to, have sellers be a little bit more strategic. And having a strategy is what's going to cause them to stand out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So today we're going to break down some practical tips for sellers to stand out, and whether you're selling a resale home or new construction.
Yep.
So let's kind of dive into it, Luke. Let's talk about what the average time on the market houses are really staying at today.
Yeah, so again, just depending on your market, but I like using examples. So
Yeah.
I've got a current example right now. I've got a friend of mine, their house, I've got it listed, and we kind of ran comps and stuff on it, and average days on market for this house is sitting about, 80, 90 days. It's not a 14-day market
Yeah.
anymore, hadn't been in a long time. I think everybody is seeing days on market being like north of a month or so.
Yeah, I've been seeing that too. I think anywhere from 30 to 90 days is really to be expected.
That's right.
And it just really depends on
Yep.
how prepared you have been in getting your house listed, as if you're closer to that 30-day mark or the 90-day mark.
Yeah, absolutely. Preparation is going to go a long way, and then having that strategy that we were talking about of pricing and where you want to be and all
Yeah.
that. All that's going to come into play on days on market.
I completely agree. So, sellers, they need to mentally be prepared for having multiple showings over several weeks of time,
Mm-hmm.
and being prepared to really negotiate the sales price and their offers.
That's right. Yeah, one thing I like doing with my clients, and one thing I'm doing with this friend of mine is we've said, hey, let's talk long term. What's the exit strategy if it hits 90 days? What's the
Mhm.
what are we going to do? Or is this price where we're hanging out? Are there adjustments? Are there concessions? And you kind of just build this strategy out on how to tackle those little brackets of time.
Yeah, I agree. You know, First impressions really matter when it comes to
100%.
when you list a home. So that really boils down to the curb appeal
Yeah.
that you have on your home. Um, how someone feels about the first 30 seconds when they walk up to your house, uh, that's going to either make or break if they're really interested in it. Because if they're blown away when they
Mhm.
walk up, even if they're smaller defects, they're more likely to, look past those, or, oh, that's not a big deal. But, if the curb appeal isn't there, they'll nitpick everything when they walk through the house.
No, that's absolutely true, and it's funny because you can, everybody's like, I'm going to spend money getting my house prepped for market,
Mm-hmm.
and so they go and they immediately start repainting the insides and doing all these things. And I'm not to say those are bad, but I think that's when you need to strategize with your agent. I
Yeah.
wouldn't just, hey, I'm not going to list it right now. I'll talk to you when I'm ready. That's a bad idea. I would get with your agent and go, okay, I want to list the house. I'd like for you to come do a walkthrough. Tell me where you think I can put the money to make the market kind of want to look at it, right? Like,
Right.
get the curb appeal up, put it in the important places, put it places we know inspections are going to dink you on.
Yeah.
Like, really
Especially
focus
on a resale house that's older,
Oh, yeah.
adding the handrails on steps, or
Yeah.
fixing peeled paint around windowsills and door frames and stuff.
Especially if you're trying to hit like a VA, FHA market, like
Yeah.
those right there. If you just said, I don't care, I don't want to do that stuff. You need to know that by saying that, it starts restricting your buyer pool a little bit.
Yeah, and that will if you get offers for FHA or VA, but you've already committed to not wanting to do those, then those become off the table for you.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
yeah,
Or if you go start cutting your price to get showing super fast, and you got it marked FHA VA. Well, they're going to hit you for those things. You're going to have to do handrails. You're going to have to fix peeled paint. Well, if you've already slashed your house, $15,000, that money may not be there for you.
yeah, that's absolutely true. But some of the good curb appeal things that I think could be really important to help bring people in is small stuff like replenishing the mulch in your flower beds or trimming back
Yep.
bushes, things like that, just to make the house overall nice to walk up to.
100%. I would say most people don't pressure wash or soft wash their house. I
Yeah.
would say getting with a wash company, licensed and insured, and getting them to soft wash the house. There's low pressure applied. It's
Yeah.
not going to peel paint. It's going to give it this nice kind of pop. Flower beds being the next thing. If there's a driveway and it's like how driveways get like gray and black in color, have them wash the driveway. Just something to make it kind of stand out a little bit, right? And that'll go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, just even minor upgrades to the house, like fixing or like updating exterior lights. If you got an older house, like say it from the late 90s, early 2000s, you got
Yep.
like that brass or gold color light fixtures or something, could look at updating those things.
Door hardware
Yep.
in the house, right? Like I live in a home that was built back in the early 90s. It's got the brass hardware on it. Okay.
Yeah.
If I were to go put that on the market, one of the first things I do, I'd go through, I change out every door handle, every door hinge, change out your cabinet hardware. That's a small spend.
Yeah.
Small spend to get a nice finish on stuff.
Yeah.
Light bulbs, guys, light bulbs. Put the same color light bulb in every fixture of the house from one side to the other and make sure they're all the same age. So if you're going to list your house, I would just replace them all.
Mm-hmm.
Like just new light bulbs throughout the house.
That's smart because nothing is worse than you walk through a house and you got yellow lights in one room or blue lights in another room.
You got a fixture that's got a white light, but then there's one bulb that's like kind of white but kind of not. It's just not a good look.
Yeah.
And it's too easy to take care of something like that.
Absolutely. But now let's kind of focus like we like to do on new construction and
Sure.
how they can make the curb appeal for new construction.
Sure.
If builders include landscaping packages, that's going to appeal. I know builders do. Some builders may build a spec house and they may just let seed and straw the front yard.
Right.
A landscape package sod that's going to appeal to more people.
Most spec homes are going to be exactly like that. It's not a big spend on landscaping, but it's just kind of quick and dirty, make it look nice and
Right,
get it out
and
there.
that's probably included in the price already.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not going to just make or break, the overall price of the home if you just go that extra mile and sod the yard and put in landscaping versus just seed and straw.
That's right.
Cleaning up job sites is another big one. Especially with these new construction neighborhoods where they may have several specs in one phase of a neighborhood or something. If you were
Nothing worse than being an agent going to look at a house that's done, right? Because if you're doing multiple constructions, you have one over here that's done, you have one over here that's almost done, and one over here that just started framing, right? And that's one of the benefits of being able to look
you
at
can
specs.
see all the
You can
phases.
see it all. Big downside, and there's nothing worse than being an agent rolling up to show the finished product, and you're trying to convince them, like, hey, this is a good house. This is not a crappy house, right?
Mhm.
But meanwhile, you look across the way, and the builder's got just garbage and scrap everywhere, and it's not a well-maintained site. And then the homeowner's like, well, if that's the way they treat it during the build, what's behind these walls, right?
Well, yeah.
And you can't say anything to him as an agent. You're like, Good point.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. And, it's a construction site, so things are going to happen, but
Yep.
you don't want just everything kind of spilling over into the street, muddy streets,
Mm-mm.
nails everywhere. I
No,
mean,
especially if it's going to be an ongoing new construction.
yeah,
Like if I'm going out there to buy as a homeowner, and I'm signing up, full knowledge that I'm going to be living in a construction site for a little bit. You can make it less of that.
yeah,
Being a builder.
yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
You for sure can. So, curb appeal is important, but where the brass tacks really come down to it is if buyers are looking to see if they can afford something.
100%.
You can do everything you can to make your home appeal to people, but once they fall in love with it, they have to know that they can afford this house.
Mm-hmm.
And so, really, something that all sellers, whether you're doing a resale home or new construction, really need to strategize on is how to make that home affordable. In my opinion, incentives and rate buy downs go so much further than lowering the price of your home.
Oh yeah. I would agree completely, and it's just about negotiation. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's finding someone you can be open and honest with. It's like we keep going back to this, building your team, right? So
Yeah.
having an agent that you can be open and honest with, and not you don't want to hold anything close to the chest. You don't want to be like, well, I really want my monthly payment to be this, so I'm gonna tell them my price is X, but really I could go to Y, right? Like you don't want to do that. You want to be open, honest with the lender, with the agent, because then you can all sit down as a team and go, okay, that's our target, that's our goal. Let's get there. Let's figure out what we have to do to make that happen.
Absolutely. And when it comes to incentives and buy downs and things of that nature, lowering your interest rate 1% versus dropping the price of the home $10,000.
Yep.
It's apples and oranges in comparison. I mean, you can save on your monthly payment $200 a month.
That's right.
By dropping that interest rate. If you drop your price $10,000, I mean, think of it this way. You're looking at the difference of financing something $10,000 over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
It is just going to be dollars in comparison.
That's right. It won't be anything, and you use up your negotiating credits.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right? Like, so when you go sit down at a table with somebody, you have so much that basically you're telling them no to, and once that emotional amount is spent, like it's gone. You get no more out of that person.
No, you don't. There is not, in most situations, whether it's resale or new construction, they'll offer you one thing or another. And, I know I deal with a lot of new construction, so they'll do like flex cash.
Sure.
And buyers ask me all the time, well, should I just use that and lower the price of my home? And I'll run the numbers for them. I'm like, that is an option, but that money is better spent covering your closing costs to save you that money out of pocket, lowering your interest rate, and then if there's some left over, put a fence in or an outdoor kitchen or get a refrigerator or
get
something.
some usability out of it. Like that's a good point. Your appliances, if they're not all included, using that flex cash to tackle some of those things, so you're not paying out of pocket or even worse, financing that in.
Yeah.
Again, it's all the money you're saving is actually going to a 5-year payment on a credit card or something.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's really just strategy, man. Just sitting down and talking.
So a couple of options for these incentives, and we've talked about briefly before, is called a temporary buy down.
Yep.
An example of something like that would be like a 2-1 buy down.
Mm-hmm.
So just to explain what a 2-1 buy down is, you are temporarily lowering your interest rate for 2 years. On the first year, it is lowered by 2% of what your rate is. Right. On the second year, it is lowered by 1% of what your rate is. And then on the third year through the rest of the loan, it is at the note rate that you locked in at.
Right.
So for an example, say you have a 6% interest rate locked in.
Right.
That first year, you would be making payments on a 4% interest rate. And the next year, it would be a 5%. And then years 3 through the life of the loan, it is then 6%. It's a great way to kind of ease your way into monthly payments, especially if you're going into something higher than you currently are spending.
Sure.
And so you can kind of prepare for something like that. You can always refinance if the market.
I was about to ask you, just can you explain that? So, like,
Yeah.
today, I think is a really good example. Like today's market, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are we at right now?
So, right now, well, let's just look at it. I would say on average we are. Hold on.
Because, like, where I'm going with this and where we'll get to in a second is Zach pulling this up. Today's rate, we've come down a little bit. And if you're optimistic like I am, I believe that what this administration's going to end up doing is pushing this down even further, right? So a 2-1 is a pretty good option right now.
It is. So, the average rate right now, we're sitting at 6.14%. It did drop below 6% last week, and, with the oil kind of skyrocketing this past week, it's kind of.
There's some readjusting.
It made some shifts. But you're right. I think overall we are looking at lowering interest rates over the next year, further than they have been. Because right now we're still sitting at the lowest point.
So if you did a 2-1, you could be paying on a 4.14 is what we just looked at. So you're paying a 4.14% interest rate, and in the next 12 months, if they drop interest rates, you can come back and refi.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to pay the closing costs and stuff again of a refi, but
yeah, absolutely, and it could, it could really set you up into that fixed rate position. Or if rates are not where you want them to be, you'll go up to that 5.14, still lower than what the market's at, and kind of sustain. And you buy yourself a little more time.
And then if the market goes the other way and goes higher, you're going up to 6.14.
Yeah.
So 6.14 would be your worst case today. This is what we're talking about strategy. If you're looking to enter the market right now, new construction or just buying a home, talking to your lender, talking to your agent, figuring out what your goals for the next few years are going to be, and then try to strategize where you're going to be in a comfortable payment that you can kind of sustain that.
Yeah, absolutely. And how those programs work, it is prepaid interest that you're paying up front. They have to either be paid by the seller or the lender,
Right.
So you as the buyer are not paying that.
Right.
But the cost of that is typically the same as the cost of, if you're cutting your price $10,000 or $5,000, $15,000, whatever you are listing at and you're cutting your price, you could apply that money to a program like this and not cut the price of your home.
Right.
Because we all know, as we've talked about before, the further you cut the price of the home, the market reacts. The appraised values.
Well, that was going to be my next point is if you cut the price and then you close that sale, you're now the new comp for your neighborhood that you're in.
That's right.
And then if the next one goes up and they're comping off yours, well, they may have to cut their price. So if it's all about payment and you like the house, then, a strong point is these 2-1 buy downs and negotiating your rates and not the price.
So, what I get asked a lot, especially with some of the larger builders. You got like D.R. Horton, Lennar, other kind of big box production builders. How are they advertising rates so much lower than what the market is? I mean, we just saw what the market is today, 6.14%. If you drive by a D.R. Horton neighborhood, you could be seeing a sign for 3.99%.
Right.
So how are they doing that? It's called a forward commitment. and it is a great incentive for builders to use. And what they do is they are locking in a segment of forecasted interest rates up front. And so let me explain that a little bit. If the builder is working with a specific lender, and these builders have their own mortgage company, so they're paying their mortgage company, they are going and getting a wholesale rate, and that means there's no margin or anything built into it.
Right.
They are at a wholesale rate, and they are going to commit a set amount of volume. And by volume, it is like the price tag of houses that's sold. So say it's 10 million in volume, based on their sales price of about 250,000. What is that? That's about 20 houses.
Yeah.
So they're committing that they will sell 20 houses in this time frame of commitment. It's usually about 2 to 3 month time frame. And they can lock in on a wholesale rate that they have purchased from this lender. Now, there's all kinds of criteria. You know, you'll have to have a minimum credit score of this. The house will have to close within that time frame. So generally, it's on sitting inventory. And now they have this fixed rate. It is not a temporary buy down, it's nothing, and it is a fixed rate. At that wholesale rate, it could be 3.99%.
Right.
It's a great incentive that builders are really diving into and leveraging.
Right, and you're not going to see that from a custom builder necessarily. No. That's going to be a big box store just because of the volume they're generating.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, and why they have that volume component in there is the builder's paying X amount of money into it, but if they make the sales, they surpass that volume, then they've kind of recouped the money that they invested into that.
And everything we're talking about right now, like that, the reason all this matters is because as a seller, when you're putting your house on the market, buyers they're not shopping based on like the overall price tag. They're shopping on their monthly payment.
Absolutely.
That's the bottom line. What is my monthly payment going to be?
Yeah, that's any conversation that I have, that is exactly what I'm asked. What is my monthly payment and how much do I need to pay at closing?
Yeah, nobody, and I say nobody cares. They care, but nobody goes, I'm going to buy this $250,000 house and I'm going to end up paying, $320 in interest over 30 years, and so I'll pay $320 for that house at the end of the day. Like they don't care. It's what does it cost this month?
Yeah.
And how much do I have to bring to the closing table?
Yep, that is exactly where everyone's pricing strategy really needs to focus right now, because that's what buyers are looking at. So while I'm talking about pricing strategy, and would say some of the biggest mistakes sellers make right now is they are still wishing that it was 2021.
Your house is not made out of gold, guys.
No.
I hate to break. Mine's not either. But you have got to price it for the market, right? And it's not cost of replacement. It's not what it cost you when you built it. It is running comps on houses in the area. It's running comps on things that have sold recently, not sold 5-10 years ago. It's what sold within the last 12 months. And then who are you competing with? Like if you're looking to sell it fast, what's your competition in the neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be like if they're at the market comp and you have two identical houses, but you need to move this one. You cannot be priced exactly the same or more than this guy. Like you have to figure out where you're going to land, and that's only done by doing a market analysis.
It is, and the realtor can help you with that. But
finding a realtor that knows how to do an appropriate market analysis, not, hey, I ran it on a CMA real quick and just shot it over without looking at it, but went through, evaluated the properties, talked with you about it, and then got you your market analysis.
Yeah, because the days of multiple offers coming in $100,000 over asking price, That's not where we're at now.
No,
The
no.
houses are sitting on the market for, like we mentioned, upwards of 90 days, and you have to be expected to pay some kind of incentive or closing cost and be negotiable.
Yeah, and being realistic about what you have as a property. What is your add value? What is the differentiator for your property? What are you bringing to the market that the next house down the street that's listed the same amount, what are you bringing that they're not?
Yeah. And the market doesn't lie. It will definitely tell you how you're priced. Because ironically, if you're priced too high, you're going to sit on the market longer than other homes, and you're going to end up cutting your price. And generally, you're going to end up cutting your price to the point to where you would have made more money if you would have listed it right out the gate when you listed it. Because houses that sit on the market longer generally do not sell as fast as
Well, and
houses.
you're floating a pavement. Somebody's floating it. Somebody's paying for it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so there's if you're thinking about listing your house and you're like, well, maybe the comps aren't right for me right now. I want to hold for a while. There are tools out there that your agents can use to show you what it would cost to hold the house.
Yeah.
And you can sit down and go, okay, well, I could list it for this today and move it like it needs to move based on a CMA. Or I could wait 6 months and take another swing at it because I think the market's going to trend up 10%.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do the numbers and then figure out what it cost you to hold the property for those months.
Yeah.
And then weigh the options, because it doesn't do you any good if it costs you, 80% of what you're holding for. You know what I
No,
mean?
that's right. And if it's priced too high, you're not going to get showings.
No, you just won't. The market tells you about it not showing up.
Yeah. And if you're getting showings but no one's making offers, then it could be the condition of the house. And that's where that curb appeal comes in.
That's right. And that's the other thing you can lean on your agents for. We request feedback often from other agents, and sometimes I won't give it, but having your agent reach out and go, okay,
Yeah.
how'd that go?
Yeah.
Give me some feedback.
Yeah. So
That's another reason I wouldn't spend all your get ready for the market money up front.
without first seeing an agent.
Yeah, well, get some feedback on your property as it's being shown, right? Somebody may go, well, I like that, but the kitchen was a weird color. Well, if you get that comment 5-6 times, okay, maybe it's worth paying to have the kitchen repainted.
Right.
Taking that and adjusting it rather than, all right, I'm gonna get the house ready for the market. I'm gonna spend my entire budget before I've had any feedback.
Yeah. I agree with that. And, just being competitive right from the start.
Yep.
That will just really help increase urgency, increase your showings, and help move the property faster.
100%.
All right, so let's talk about focuses for resale versus new construction, kind of what that strategy is. It's really what we've been talking about this whole time, but just kind of breaking it down. So for resale sellers, what's some of the things we talked about?
We talked about, as far as being a reseller, if you're putting your house on the market, what we just talked about, strategizing with your agent, getting stuff prepped, coming up with a strategy of, okay, if it sits for 30 days, we're going to do this. If it sits for 60 days, we're going to do this. And then, having those open conversations with your team, as well as if you're going to offer concessions or incentives, knowing what you're going to offer and what you're willing to apply to buyers.
Yeah. And things that we talked about was just the overall condition of the house, getting the feedback after you have listings to improve what needs to be improved.
Yeah.
Looking and keeping the home clean, and that means both, cleaning the bathrooms, your baseboards, like you got house guests coming on.
Pay a cleaner, guys. Just listen. If you're going to spend any money, if you were going to do nothing else, Nothing else. Not paint, not flower beds, nothing else. Hire a professional cleaner to clean your house top to bottom, front to back. They're going to clean things you ain't even thought about cleaning.
It's true. And with that cleaning, I would say that includes your flower beds. Pull the weeds, put down fresh mulch, trim
Yep.
the bushes. I mean, it is as clean as you can get your property, and doing the soft wash and pressure washing too.
I would say that those, if you just did those, like if your house needs more, obviously tackle that. But if you're just tight on money you can spend getting it ready for market and you're needing to move it, figure out a way to pay for those things.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna go the furthest.
And then lastly is being flexible with your negotiations. You know, talking with a realtor, partnering with a mortgage lender, and just really finding out what incentives are other places offering.
Yep.
You know, are they paying closing costs for buyers? Is there some kind of 2-1 buy down or something? You know, you can partner with a lender and do those things up front before you list, and that way you have a margin that you have, and you know how much you can net from the sale of your home.
That's right. That's right. No, all great recommendations.
So now let's kind of focus on new construction. Some of the things that builders can do to really help move their product.
Yeah, I would say, the rate incentives that we talked about that they're buying in bulk, that's huge. I mean, if you can get a fixed, we used the example of 399. If somebody's offering that and they're a quality builder, I mean
Oh yeah,
that's awesome. That's hard to beat.
I mean, you're paying half of what the market is paying in interest rate right there, and there's no bells and whistles about it. It's the fixed rate.
Yeah, and most of the time they're move-in ready. You're not waiting on somebody to move out. You're not waiting on them to purchase another home. You're not going to have to deal with the dents and dings of people shuffling stuff in and out. And
Yeah, and
there's a lot going for them.
With one of the more underrated things for a builder that I would say is the home warranty. You're moving into a home that no one has ever lived in before. You could have all these incentives, all the fences and appliances and things thrown in there, and you get a 12-month home warranty in case anything happens.
Yeah, as an agent, I really like dealing with resales, but dealing with new construction is another animal, and I enjoy it a lot. One of the things you don't think about is resales always have like an emotional price put on it. It was my house. I grew up there. It's grandfather's house.
Oh, yeah.
So there is always an emotional premium on resales that new construction is just not going to have. They're moving another product, not the house they built memories in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a numbers game when it comes to a builder. They're trying to push product and make profit, because the longer they sit on a property, the more interest they're paying on it.
That's right.
Well, Luke, if you are thinking about selling, a key takeaway from today is just really preparation.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing we touched on for sure.
Yeah, I would say so. Buyers are still out there, but they're more selective and more payment conscious than they ever were a few years ago.
Yeah, and the sellers who are going to win in this market, they're going to be the ones that are focused on pricing, presentation, creating incentives, and just really strategizing like we talked about.
Yeah. And so, if you're thinking about buying, selling, or building and want guidance through this process, reach out to us. And if you enjoyed this episode of Constructive Conversations, share it with someone who you think might be selling in today's market.
Yep. And look forward to meeting up with you guys next time.
Thank you.